So let's go to talking about some of the things that are going on inside the NFL. Let's talk about what's in the news.
So these idiots are talking news now? Are they pulling this off of Jock Journal? So I guess this proves they can read. What a joke.
Okay, Frank, we got a top 5 MVP candidates from T.J. Randall of JockJournal.com, who stated that he has 5 people. And here's the thing: he thinks
5 people,
5 good candidates. One of which is a defensive MVP, J.J. Watt, or even he said even possibly Aaron Donald could be considered into that.
You always got to put defensive players. You always got to put defensive players up there. Just can't be offense or quarterbacks or running backs. You got to put defensive players up there because, growing up in Chicago, grew up a Bears fan, I can tell you, defense is the catalyst for the team I root for, and that's the Chicago Bears. You got to put defense up there all the time.
You do. And another one to even consider for a possible MVP candidacy in the defensive realm this year would even be Josh Norman, too.
Yes, definitely.
That guy has been playing lights out all year round, and I believe that he is a large part of the Carolina Panthers' success this year.
They got a tremendous defense.
They do.
Defense.
His 4th choice was Antonio Brown, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah,
Antonio
I know.
Brown, I'm a little he's had a good season, but can you consider Antonio Brown to be an MVP? I mean, I know the Steelers have been winning as of late. If you take a look at what he has been able to do, he has had a good number of games this season in which he has caught for over 100 yards receiving. That's the tough one for me. Very tough.
And then the 3rd one is Carson Palmer, quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals.
Good choice.
Very, very underrated in my opinion. He really is, and he's done a lot of things that have really helped that team. The 2nd one is Cam Newton, quarterback of the Carolina Panthers.
Okay, that's who I would pick. I would pick Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers in a heartbeat. I'll explain shortly why, but it had to do with what I saw yesterday.
Okay, but the number 1 pick, the one that surprised me on this one, was Tom Brady, quarterback of the New England Patriots.
Surprise me. No, that doesn't surprise me. Tom Brady is a darling. He's a darling to the media. I mean, whenever the New England Patriots are playing well, they like to give the credit to Tom Brady. And you know what? Tom Brady, I can understand why. Tom Brady is the catalyst of that machine. And the New England Patriots, when you think of that offense, Nash, you think of a well-tuned group. And I can understand Tom Brady being in that list. The question is, how many more years are we going to see Tom Brady in that list? Listen, Tom Brady he's in an advanced age now. He's 38 years old. He just doesn't appear to be slowing down. Look, like him or not, and a lot of people don't like Tom Brady. I can tell you that right now. Tom Brady is here to stay, and as long as he's here to stay, he is going to always be a contender for MVP until he slows down, but I don't see that in any time in the near future.
Yeah, I didn't either. It's here's the thing. Tom Brady is a phenomenal, absolute great talent, Hall of Fame, possibly greatest of all time at the quarterback position. However, I have a sleeper pick.
Okay, yeah, you told me before. Yeah, you told me before we were going to come on that you were going to have this surprise pick. And like I said, Christmas is 4 days away. We're talking about little kids at Christmas, how they want to wait to open up their presents on Christmas morning. They want to be surprised. I want to be surprised. Nash Carey, your sleeper pick is, drum roll please,
Russell Wilson.
I had a feeling.
I knew you did, but here, listen to this, okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. First off, here's the thing. Russell Wilson has so many things that people have always said that this is a defensively based team. He doesn't have the receivers around him. And if it wasn't for Marshawn Lynch, the Seahawks would have nothing on offense. However, as soon as Marshawn Lynch and Jimmy Graham, those 2 big quote-unquote weapons of Russell Wilson's disposal, and the offense was able to run like it would if Russell Wilson had it all on his shoulders, look at what has happened, okay? Now, if you said Cam Newton, okay?
Yes. I'm going by consistency here. I'll admit the Seahawks have been the hottest team over the last weeks, but I'm going by overall season consistency. Go ahead.
Well, let's take a look at overall season statistics, because that would
that.
probably be the best way to look at the overall season consistency. Wilson has a 68.8 completion percentage. Cam Newton has 59.1. Wilson has thrown 29 touchdowns. Cam Newton, 33. So relatively close.
Very close.
Wilson,
close toss-up.
Wilson, 7 interceptions. Newton, 10. Rushing yardage, also very close. 456 to 480. Okay, now here's the kicker. Quarterback ratings as of right now. Cam Newton has a quarterback rating. Well, okay, Cam Newton has a quarterback rating of 98.9 with 243 yards per game. Russell Wilson has a quarterback rating of 111.4, the highest in the NFL.
I can understand your point for Russell Wilson here, being the MVP of the league.
Now, go ahead. Let's go even a step further. Early on in the season, he didn't have the offensive line that he has now. When things were struggling in Seattle, when they started off the season with a mediocre 5-5 type of record, okay, that line was absolutely, utterly terrible, horrible. It was difficult to watch. It was actually embarrassing to watch. Now that line is actually performing. Jimmy Graham is gone. Marshawn Lynch is gone. And Russell Wilson is doing it with what people have called average receivers and an offensive line that's makeshift and rookie running backs who last week got injured and now down to third and fourth string running backs carrying the ball. Cam Newton hasn't had to deal with his entire offense falling apart around him. Russell Wilson has, and has only gotten better doing it.
So, do you get the sense, because of what the Seahawks have been through, and you're mentioning Thomas Rawls, who went down with the season-ending injury recently, that Russell Wilson has had to step up immensely, and we're seeing the true type of clutch quarterback that Russell Wilson is? Look, I can make a good point here for Russell Wilson potentially having MVP value. And when, Nash, I will say this, when the MVP votes are done at the end of the season, you're going to see Russell Wilson get some of those votes. But here's what's amazing about Russell Wilson. And take a look at this 5-game winning streak. 5 games. I mean, this is vintage Seattle Seahawks here.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at before the 5-game winning streak began, when the Seahawks had only won 4 games. As a matter of fact, they were 4-5 at one point. Russell Wilson only had 1 multiple touchdown game passing, and that was against the 49ers on a Thursday night, 20-3 on October 22nd. Do you know what? It's ridiculous what Russell Wilson has been able to accomplish. Russell Wilson has, I mean, look at this. 3 touchdown passes against the 49ers at home when this streak began. Then they host Pittsburgh, 5 touchdown passes. 3 against the Minnesota Vikings on the road. 5 against the Baltimore Ravens. Thomas Rawls goes down with an injury. Then you have the Cleveland Browns yesterday, 3 touchdowns. But you know what's more impressive? Say what you want about the touchdowns, and you were talking about the interceptions. 7 interceptions. Nash, let me point out here, buddy, that Russell Wilson, who had struggled with interceptions, it seemed that he was throwing an interception almost every game before this 5-game winning streak. Russell Wilson doesn't have even 1 interception. As a matter of fact, his last interception that he threw was on November 15th against the Arizona Cardinals. They lost that game 39-32. So a month and 6 days ago, Nash, that was the last time Russell Wilson threw a pick.
You're right. And what you just said has never been done before in the NFL. Over a 5-game stretch, what he has done has never been done with this many touchdowns, 19 touchdowns, 0 interceptions over a 5-game stretch. Has never been done in the history of the NFL. Now,
okay, I don't think. Go ahead, because I was going to say I don't think Russell Wilson cares about the MVP honors. I really don't. But this is why the Seattle Seahawks may be the hottest team in the playoffs. They may be hotter than Carolina, Arizona. They may be better than Arizona right now.
Yeah.
Look, they're going to the playoffs. Just get in, and they will be in the playoffs. Yeah, I think this team can go deep into the playoffs. Seriously.
It's almost inevitable that they do at this point. I mean, they're even winning games on the road. The Seahawks quarterback, Russell Wilson, is the first quarterback ever in the NFL to pass for 3 touchdowns in 5 games with 3 or more touchdowns in 5 games with 0 interceptions. First ever. That's 19 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Let that sink in. 19 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's only over 5 games. Many people can't do 19 touchdowns in a whole freaking season. Cam Newton didn't last year.
Okay. Look, Russell Wilson, we know how vital he is for the Seattle Seahawks. As a matter of fact, you lose Russell Wilson, you lose all your playoff hopes. You obviously, that effect, you lose your Super Bowl hope. And I'm going to say this. The Seahawks have returned to the form of 2 years ago and last year, the teams that got to the Super Bowl in back-to-back years. But I'm going to be honest. The reason why I got to take Cam Newton, and this has nothing to do with statistics here. I mean, yes, statistics are going to play somewhat of a factor here. And Cam Newton, kind of similar to Wilson, although if you take a look at Cam Newton in terms of his interceptions, he has only thrown 1 interception since November 15th. I mean, yeah, this is a guy that had trouble with interceptions, kind of like Russell Wilson. As a matter of fact, it was actually worse than Russell Wilson. There were 2 games in a stretch in mid to late October against, well, coincidentally, the Seahawks, and then the Eagles, in which Cam Newton threw for 5 picks. Now, you take a look at Cam Newton over the last 6 games. He has only thrown 1 interception. But the reason why, Nash, I have to take Cam Newton is because of what I saw yesterday. And that is because this guy led one of the best clutch drives I have seen in the NFL this year. Okay, maybe it quite wasn't Aaron Rodgers, the Richard Rodgers, the Hail Mary in Ford Field. But that was not easy going up against the New York Giants, a team that has been known to play some pretty good football late in the season for years. But Cam Newton was able to lead a go-ahead drive with the game tied for a game-winning field goal. To me, you look at the Seattle Seahawks, they've been winning. But the Carolina Panthers, they have been winning games the easy way. They've been winning it the hard way. And Cam Newton certainly has been the catalyst, and he was yesterday in producing one of the best drives I've seen with him to set up a game-winning field goal. So for me, I got to go with Cam Newton. At least we're not in agree. At least you and I agree that Tom Brady shouldn't get the MVP again.
Well, yeah,
so we're in agreement with that.
Yeah, I don't think Tom Brady I mean, I think he's done a great job, and I think that things are good for Tom Brady. But when Tom Brady's weapons have been out this year, watch what happened to Tom Brady. He went 0-2 when things started falling apart there, whereas Russell Wilson got amazingly better. And Cam Newton, to his credit, also has. So I am not going to dispute the fact that Cam Newton has done a good job. But if you look at Cam Newton's numbers, right, they're almost identical to Russell Wilson's last year's numbers, and nobody put Russell Wilson in any candidacy to win an MVP last year. The numbers are damn near statistically identical. It is creepy, actually. And that's they're very similar styles of quarterbacks, different body types by far, but they are both the mobile, scramble, pistol type of spread offense type of quarterbacks with strong arms. And
they're not Peyton, they're not Tom Brady, they're not Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers. And by the way, I want to say this about guys such as Russell Wilson and Cam Newton. You take a look at them, very young. 27 is Russell Wilson. Cam Newton, 26. Okay, but here's the thing, though, and I've said this before, Nash, and this is a big concern. As great, as athletic as they are now, 10 years from now, they're not going to be. They can't depend on that athletic ability 10 years from now, because that's where they're going to have to to depend on being a mobile quarterback. You just 10 years from now, when you get into your mid and late 30s,